Welcome to Robotics and Automation News webinars, where you can be part of a global event without leaving your home or office. Attend our live webinars and communicate directly with influential professionals in your industry.
Hello, my name is Abdul Muntakim. I'm editor of roboticsandautomationnews.com. In this video, Jack Smylie of Ancra Systems gives us a presentation of his company's automatic truck loading and unloading systems, which, surprisingly, are not as widely used in the logistics and supply chain sectors as you might think. It's quite common to see forklifts and lifting platforms being used for loading and unloading trucks in a typical warehouse. But Smylie says Ancra's automated system can complete the same tasks in a fraction of the time, providing the company opportunity to use fewer trucks and less resources.
My name is Jack Smylie. I'm based in Detroit, Michigan, USA. I am the North American sales manager for Ancra Systems. We are a automatic truck loading and unloading company. We're newer to North America. We've been marketing directly here for just over 2 years. We've been doing this for 30, as you'll see as we get into the presentation, but we're newer as far as directly marketing into North America. My responsibilities include Canada, United States, and Mexico. So do you want me to carry on from here, or do we have another question?
No, I'll ask questions at the end.
Okay, very good. All right, well, getting started then. What is automatic truck loading? It's an interesting concept. We basically can load in one shot, sometimes called a slug load. We can load an entire trailer in 1 minute. We can also, in 3 minutes. We can also unload in 3 minutes. It's a system built inside the building, either your warehouse or your manufacturing plant, and there's a matching system in the trailer. The two coincide, and when they're matched and everything is connected properly, the whole load will go into the trailer in one motion, and will be loaded in 3 minutes. Our average driver wait time around the world is 6 to 8 minutes. So the stories that you hear about drivers waiting for hours to be loaded or to be unloaded, with the Ancra systems, it doesn't happen. This is a little bit about what we're going to talk about. We're just going to tell you very briefly who we are and Heiko Companies, who owns us, some experiences in different industries. We'll talk about high volume are the main drivers. When would you want to put in an automatic truck loading system? Overview of all of our different systems, our global partners, and some references. And then I'll give you a couple details on some people that are using our system, of the hundreds that we have. All right, we're owned by Heiko Corporation. Heiko is out of the Chicago area, United States. It's a very large company, which gives us the financial wherewithal to handle very, very large projects. Heiko is just under $3 billion a year. We're part of what they call it, the Ancra Group, which is one of 4 groups of the Heiko companies. We are part of the group that's primarily around transportation. So we have sister companies that are in different parts of transportation supplies and things such as that. Who is Ancra? We're based out of the Netherlands, out of Boxtel, to be specific, maybe 2 hours outside of Amsterdam. We are the specialists in automatic truck loading. It's all we've done for almost 30 years. We do custom work. It's mostly engineering work that we do before we build the systems. We kind of engineer and build on a theme. As you'll see, we have different types of systems that can move the cargo, any type of cargo, be it palletized, be it slip sheets, be it unpalletized, be it metal racks and fixtures, things like that. But every single project that we do is unique in some form or fashion, be it the height of the building or specific customer needs. But we've been doing it. We're the experts. We're the technology leaders. We have systems that no one else have. We're the only people, as you'll see as we progress through, that can actually load an unmodified trailer. Um, as I said, 100% of our shares are owned by Heiko. We do all of our own work. Everything's done in-house. We have a multitude of buildings in one area, from engineering to metal fabrication. We even have our own extrusions for our chain runs and things such as that. So everything is custom to our system. We pre-assemble in our buildings, and then we disassemble for shipment to the customer site, be it via truck for someone local in the European theater, or onto containers for elsewhere in the world. Then we send in our own crew to put the systems back together on site. So the system has already been assembled and run before it hits any of our customer sites. Okay, what are the benefits of this thing? Why would we want to do this? And you'll see that volume is the key driver, which we'll talk about in a moment. But really, we can reduce a trailer fleet by at times up to 70%. Rule of thumb is if you're using 10 trailers to run a shuttle system now, and when I say shuttle system, what I mean by that is if you have a production facility and you 80 to 90% or more or 60% go to a offsite warehouse, and you're doing this multiple times an hour, that's a shuttle. Now, to give you an example, we have a customer here in North America that when they first put the system in with a frozen food partner, they were 5 miles away. The volume was so high, they were running 10 trucks, trailers, and drivers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Each side, the production facility and the warehouse, put our systems in. We cut that fleet down to 4 trucks. Significant savings in dollars, and with the difficulty in finding certified truck drivers all over North America and I hear the world, they were able to better utilize labor at that point. We reduce labor costs at the dock. We don't have as many fork trucks, so you save on labor, and you also save on the cost of the fork trucks. Product damage. There is less product damage. You're not handling the product as often. And we have a customer in the Netherlands that packages a food product in glass and water. Well, before our system went in, they had a just over a 10% damage rate on product being shipped. After our systems were installed, that went to under 1%. So it does work. We increase overall equipment availability. That equipment availability could be anything from a truck trailer to a fork truck or to a pallet jack. We can show with the right situation extremely fast return on investment. We say on the slide here, we're talking 6 to 24 months, but I have seen them, like the first example I gave you, they literally had an ROI of 30 days because of the amount of costs of the trucks, trailers, and drivers, etc. Better health and safety conditions for employees and truck drivers. What does that mean? Well, the less you handle something, and when you move it safely, there are going to be less injuries. Many times, if you have a high volume operation, you're disconnecting the tractor from the trailer. That means they've got to put a jack stand down, disconnect everything, pull all the hoses, climb up and down. Then they have to take and hand crank the legs down on the trailer. Well, it's surprising how many shoulder and back injuries there are for truck drivers just doing those simple operations. Because we're a live load, meaning the truck stays connected to the trailer because we load and unload so quickly, the truck drivers primarily just drive, and they don't have to be disconnecting and connecting trailers all the time. This opens up great possibilities for just-in-time and sequencing in automotive and different assembly operations. It optimizes warehouse space because you have less docks to the same volume. One of our systems, depending on how it's being loaded, if it's being loaded by conveyor, it has the possibility with the automation of the conveyor to do the same work as 5 docks. So if you have a space issue and you need to add on to your building, you might want to take a look at ATLS, because then you don't have to worry about, you can do more work on the same amount of dock space. Low maintenance cost, 1 to 2%. Simple preventative maintenance makes the system work great. And we do reduce CO2 footprint because we're taking trucks and a lot of fork truck activity off the road. I mentioned this earlier. High volume is really the main driver for if you want to get your company into automatic truck loading and unloading. You need, on average, at least 2 truckloads per hour in a shuttle situation to warrant looking into automatic truck loading, because that's where the dollars start to add up, so you can get a very good return on investment. If you have other reasons for doing it, I'm happy to talk to you. We're happy to talk to you, but it's really driven by volume. If you look at the top slide, we're talking 30 to 45 minutes, and I hear it a lot longer than that in the real world at the dock. When this truck's parked and ready to go, he's 4 minutes at the dock, 3 minutes to load, 1 minute to close the door, and he leaves. So you can see how fast and how efficient an automatic truck loading system can be. Inbound, outbound shuttles. That is the biggest driver, and has been for close to 30 years of the automatic truck loading industry. If you have a short shuttle, meaning you're only going maybe 10, 15 miles maximum, I have shuttles that are as close as a mile or half a mile. But there's different systems that you can use. You can use a chain system, a slat system, a belt system. They will load and unload, and it's really great with a trailer, and the trailers need to be modified. Now we have a longer shuttle. We have some shuttle systems that are running as far as 2 to 3 hours back and forth. Then we suggest a different type of system, and we'll go into each of these in more detail later, that reduces the financial impact on what we have to do to modify the trailer. So it's a much more limited modification, which saves money, and it makes it a much more practical process. And then this is very unique. We have what's called the skate loader. No one else in the world has anything like it. We can load an unmodified trailer. Any trailer that pulls into the dock. This could be a over-the-road trailer. It could be a shipping container. And the system will automatically read the space available, make sure that it's empty, align itself with a full load on it. So it's moving 60,000 pounds or more left and right, up and down, and perfectly aligns itself and rolls itself into a trailer, and then backs out and is removed. We have a similar system called the Load Runner Plus, which if your customer is using a standardized pallet, it uses the same base technology as a skate loader, and again, it's one of the only ones in the world that can do an unmodified trailer. Choosing the right application, I just touched on it. There's different applications, different shipping mediums that require different programs, and it all depends on the individual needs of the customers out there, the manufacturing plants or the warehouses or the 3 or 4 PLs. All right, let's look at some systems. This is the heart and soul of the ATLS as a chain system. You see it a lot in the food industry. If you look at and fast-moving beverages, if you look at the pictures, if you look at the upper right, that is a truck being unloaded into a cold store application. Now, what's one of the most important things in cold store is energy use. We want to reduce the loss of the cool temperatures from the trailers, the reefers, and you want to keep the temperature cold in the building. When the door on your building and on your trailer is only open 3 minutes, you can imagine how efficient that is for the energy. Plus, it's tremendous on the employees. You don't have employees going on and off the truck. They can get out of the cold temperature sooner, which is better for health and safety. And then you look at some other interesting pictures on the lower right. That is a system that's in a very large beverage distributor in Holland. And you see that there's lines going right to left and coming at us out of the picture of different parts of our system. The dark blue pieces in the foreground, they actually move right and left. This is a very sophisticated automatic truck loading and unloading system. Because they're using glass bottles and the bottles need to be returned from the distributor, to the bottler, to the brewery in this case, those blue sections actually move right to left and then align themselves with the blue and silver sections in the background. What this allows them to do, the truck would pull in with a full load of beverage. It becomes unloaded in 3 minutes. That shifts over, which takes about a minute and a half. Another section slides in and loads empty. That truck will be there for approximately 5 minutes, and they've loaded and unloaded 2 complete semi-loads. Now, the interesting story that's not seen here, we don't have any updated pictures to be candid, but I have personally visited this warehouse, and it almost lights out with automation. They have our system to load and unload. They also are now using AGVs. So this is actually a 24-hour-a-day distribution center for beverages now. It's one of the largest in Europe, and it just works almost lights out. And lastly, you can just see a simple drawing of what a chain system looks like. You can see the section in the truck, and you can see the section on the dock. And it's just very quick and easy to get the trucks in and out of the plant. Then we have a slat system. Slat system is used if we don't have when we have a unique medium that we're shipping on, a whole different mix of pallet sizes, slip sheets where there's no pallets, or something like the picture of the tires. There's tires and rolls of paper that we can do with a slat system. Imagine the difficulty loading a giant roll of, let's say, like a paper, like a tissue in raw form, or a craft paper, where they're from 72 inches to maybe 92 inches in width, and they're generally handled with a clamp truck. Well, you can't get the rolls too big because you got to have room for the clamp truck to open to release the roll and back out. Besides the fact they're quite heavy, and driving into a truck like you see here, but picture it please without the dividers. So you have to maneuver this clamp truck, which is about the width of the entire truck, open it enough to set the roll down, and then back out. If we are doing it with, if you're doing it with one of our slat ATLS systems, you put it on a wide open platform in the dock area. It rolls on automatically, and we only need 1 inch of clearance. What if you have to lift it higher with a fork truck or a clamp truck? You can't do that. You have to reduce the size of what you're shipping. Or imagine something like this with tires. Those are stacks of tires that are being sequenced into an automotive factory. So there's 4 to 5 tires, and they're already assembled on the rims. They're inflated. They're ready to go on the vehicle, and they go match to match with the lanes that you see in that trailer. Highly efficient in the automotive sector for sequencing. Again, it shows that one type of system doesn't work for everybody. That's why we customize the theme for anybody that's looking for ATLS. Then we have some unique systems. This is a parcel system. We actually were fortunate enough to do the French postal system, as I think also the Belgian system. This is a method in a specialized trailer meeting a specialized system inside, which unloads the loose packages that are coming in. It could be anything from a large shipping envelope, small shipping envelope, to a small box. And we unload them quickly and efficiently. So then they're going into the postal systems to be sorted and go out to the businesses and homes. This is another type of ATLF. This is the load runner we mentioned earlier. What the load runner has is that's different. If you look at the lower left-hand picture, there's you see the blue with the wood floor on top. That's the base of a trailer. There's no automation in the trailer at all. That's why it's less expensive overall for a shuttle system to use this type of load runner system versus the chain system, because you're going to have to buy many more trucks when you're having a longer system. What this is, if you see in the foreground, there's arms to the right of the chains that roll on skates, we call them, and they roll into those grooves. The chains lift the load and pulls it back, or it lowers the load and pulls itself out. Again, 3 minutes to load a trailer, just a different method. And this is the most unique system in the world. This is called the skate loader. The skate loader is the one that I mentioned that will load only. It will not unload, but it will load an unmodified trailer or a shipping sea container. You basically, in a loading dock situation, you stage your load for the truck or container that's coming in, so it's ready to go on the truck. It's picked, it's been sorted, it's been marked, all ready to go on the truck. With our system, you just stage right on the system, and if you see the dark blue base in the lower right picture, that is the full platform. That is the brains of the skate loader. The skate loader then has sensors when the trailer pulls in, or the container. It scans the entire trailer for height, for width, and make sure that somebody didn't leave a load in there, one pallet maybe from a previous load. Once it's clear, it adjusts. That entire blue platform moves right and left, up and down, and perfectly aligns itself with the trailer. And then if you look at the upper picture, you can see that the black pallets are riding on top of a specialized skate. There's heavy wheels, metal wheels underneath there, and they're riding on a chain. The sensors tells that skate when to stop, so far from the bulkhead, and then there's chains on top of the system that pushes the load forward. And then when the first pallet is probably 80% down, the skate begins to retract while the chain is pushing it off. So it gives you a very soft exit for the skate, and it's a very soft landing for the fragile product on top. It's pretty amazing. Total cycle time is 8 minutes for scan, positionings, load, and retraction. So much faster than anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes to hand load a truck with a fork truck or a pallet jack. It's pretty amazing. And if you've got a high volume operation, as fast as you can load this thing, you can back another truck or container in and have it out the door. The Load Runner Plus is a version of the skate loader. It just uses a different medium to load the trailer, and it gives us the opportunity to do 2 different levels at one time. Again, it's 8 minutes, unmodified trailer, and it's loaded and the driver's on the road. What kind of auxiliary equipment do we have to have for our different systems? We have drawbridge sections. We have a trailer positioning frame. That's part of holding the trailer in the proper position for the shuttle systems so that we don't have a bounce in the trailer. And I'm sure anybody that's interested in this subject has probably seen a fork truck drive into a trailer on a loading dock, and they see how much that trailer bounces up and down as the fork truck drives in and out. the trailer positioning frames that we use hold the trailer in a steady position so it doesn't move up and down. It also gives you a less damage, a lower damage rate for your goods. There's a number of other things here that we do, things that are just necessary. We can do cross sections. We can load from the back. We can load from the right, etc. The drawbridge section I mentioned, if you see, that's in a cold store application. We use a drawbridge so we get a good positive connection between the trailer and the stationary system inside the building. Because it's in cold store, it's really the only place we use it. It's because there's such a thick wall that we can't get the trailer close enough to interact directly with the stationary system in the building like we do outside of cold store. The drawbridge spans that gap, and it gives us a solid connection so we can be a repeatable load and unload situation. These are the different types of trailer positioning frames. As you can see, there's minimal disturbance outside of the outside your building. Part of our system is a plug. We power the systems that are inside the trailer from building power, but it's a lot more than that. The driver plugs this in because then it allows the trailer to talk to the main control panel for our system. Once that plugged in, the two systems are talking to each other, and it's an instant connection, and the doors go up, and the system is activated and loads or unloads the trailer. We use soft controls. Basically, we use Siemens. We can use Allen Bradley if you're in North America, or really most any type of PLC that you want. Why we talk about soft, it's because we have a soft start. We don't have a hard jerking motion to our chains or our slats when we go to load or unload a trailer. Some specialty equipment, some of the very few that we do outside of the direct load is if you're using and connecting into a existing conveyor system, most likely it's a single lane. So a cross section or a transfer station allows us to take the two at a time that we're bringing off of our system and put them into individual rows so they can be carried away by a automated conveyor. We always recommend safety guarding and fencing. Obviously, we don't want people crawling around it. If it gets activated, it's not a real safe situation. Forklift barriers, we're just showing this because we want to make sure that everyone understands that we're protecting the equipment. We have about a 99% uptime with our equipment. Very rarely do we have incidents and breakdowns because we do our best to build a hardy machine and something that's protected from fork damage. Okay, what different industries? Beverage industry, you've seen a lot of green boxes. Cold store, we have cold stores all over the world. Petrochemical, from bagged goods to the what we call the super sacks or the big bags. IBCs, a lot of times they're just for outbound shuttles at the end of a line, then it goes to the DC. Automotive, tires, seats, dashboards, skids. We've done some very specialized systems for automotive that are actually 2 layers in a trailer with like dashboards or seats, and it allows them to be sequenced onto the truck, and they're sequenced as they in the proper order coming off the truck. Fast-moving consumer goods, a huge category. That can be anything from snack foods to laundry detergent, and we're working with the major companies and small companies all over the world that are shipping anything from dish soap to potato chips. And then post and parcel. With the event of internet buying, internet shipping, buying things online, we're seeing this has become a growing sector for us because we do have the experience of doing automated parcel systems for large post offices. Okay, cold store applications. These are just some basic specifics that you can pause the video and read. I'm not going to spend a lot of time just talking about it, but it gives you some idea how we converge to center or something to note. Because as we load our system, and I'm going to digress here just for a moment. When you're loading our system and you're loading it with a fork truck, as an example, on the rear of our systems, it's 2 pallet loads wide. You put a pallet on the right, you put a pallet on the left. And then the system automatically indexes to allow space for the next 2 pallets. So what happens is, as the system is filling, the chains are converging on each other. So we're tightening the load side to side, so you get a nice, tight, dense load going on to the trailer. And then there's some connections between the trailer and the stationary system where we tighten the load front to back. So when you're all done, the load is as compacted as it can safely be before it ships. Cold store people, just to give those that are interested, these are some of the companies we are doing business with, and have multiple systems in each one of these companies. Automotive, here's some good examples. If you look at the lower right photograph, that's the end result of our 2-story system that we put 2 layers in a truck. Those are all seats going in from a seat sequencing center to the assembly plant. We've done seats, cockpits, motor blocks, bumpers, air conditioning, doors. If it can go into the truck, it'll go in faster and better with our system. Global partners. We work a lot with the different systems integrators around the world. They understand what we do and how we do it, and it ties in nicely with the automation that they're using, be it an automated freezer warehouse, be it a picking system, etc. They understand that we're a good, solid partner, and we're strong financial backing with Heiko. We can do any size job. All kinds of global references. This is just a small smattering of who we do business with, from Coca-Cola and PepsiCo to Sabic in the chemical industry, Michelin Tires, Cold Store, Kellogg's, ConAgra Foods, Lamb Weston. So we do business with a large majority of major corporations around the globe. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but this just gives a smattering of some of the countries that we're in. Right now, we're growing rapidly in North America and rapidly in India. These are some references of some different places that we've done. This is a Procter & Gamble plant in Germany. Basically, it's a typical warehouse situation. They produce at one end, the warehouse is off-site, and they have to shuttle there multiple times an hour. Since they have 4 dock systems, I'm assuming they're doing about 4 to 6 an hour, probably, between the 2 buildings. And I know some of you that are listening that may not be in this situation yet. Right? How does it get? Why did you build your warehouse separate from your production plant? What happens in most situations is companies build a production plant, and if they're successful, they need more production. Well, it's a lot cheaper to empty a warehouse and put it off-site if you don't have room for it on-site than it is to build something nearby. You don't want to move all your equipment. So what happens most of the time is the manufacturing areas take over the warehouses as they grow, and they end up with an off-site warehouse. That's why it's become so common. This is the system with Heineken distributor in the Netherlands. This is the Heineken side. This is the one that I was mentioning earlier, that the shuttle moves left and right as well as in and out to unload full and empty containers of beer bottles. This is a company in Brazil that does double layer loading and unloading. Since they have a difficulty getting stacked pallets to stay, so we just did a 2-layer trailer. and it's 4 dock systems and 4 trailers on 2 levels. This is the tires that you've seen a couple of times out. This is one of 2 to, I think, 3 systems that we have with different companies, 3 different companies. This one happens to be BMW in Germany. And the lower left picture shows the tires already stacked and sequenced on the system, waiting for the truck to come in to load to make another run to the assembly plant. Conagra Preferred Freezer. This is out in Washington State, USA. They run 24/7. This company now has over 10 dock systems as they've grown, and as the producer Lamb Weston has grown that they serve. This company is one of our biggest advocates about the automation. They go into a fully automated warehouse. Nothing touches these pallets until they're being ready to ship. This is a different end of the tire sequencing. It's just done slightly different. You can see there's different holding devices in this one, but it's very similar to what we're doing at BMW. And that's what I have. I'd be happy to take questions that we have, and hopefully I didn't miss anything that anyone that's listening would think it was important.
Thank you very much, Jack. That was a great presentation. I had a number of questions which were answered in your presentation. So I'll try and pick out the ones that maybe you could elaborate on. I actually worked in a warehouse briefly a couple of years ago, and yeah, it was a truck loading and unloading, and the things that we loaded and unloaded were, those trolleys that you see on an aeroplane when you're sitting down, you're a passenger, and the air steward or air stewardess, walks along the aisle
Yes.
with drinks and all that. Those
Yes.
little, I don't know what they're called. They're little cabinets, I suppose, with wheels on them. So
trolley says it all.
exactly, a trolley, yeah. So these trolleys were stocked by this company that I work for, with food and drink, and they would be loaded onto the trucks. They were kind of smaller trucks. Not really sure what the terminology is, but yeah, they were sort of medium-sized trucks, not big
Okay.
18-wheelers or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they were loaded, there was the truck would reverse into the entrance, and there was one of those hydraulic sort of powered platforms that would be raised about, I don't know, 5 feet off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
with the trolleys on or stacked. We'd have moved the trolleys on the platform, then the platform would be raised, and then we'd move the trolleys onto the truck.
Oh.
And obviously the reverse happened as well. Empty trolleys came back. We'd unload them using the platform. So that kind of situation makes me think that your system, I think there was about half a dozen people who used to work at doing what I did, loading and unloading the truck. So that kind of situation seems to be a good potential customer for you. I mean, but the question then is your system, what's the return on investment? Is it too expensive for a company like that with only 3, I don't know if you call them docks, but 3 entrances where lorries used to reverse into, and we'd load and unload them?
Well, I guess the simple answer really gets back to it's all about the volume. It's all about the number of trips per hour. Because a system that I could envision to the description you gave me, it doesn't need to hold 60, 70,000 pounds. So it would be a much lighter system. So the cost would go down, number one. But you've got to look at if they're running multiple times an hour, every time you make a trip, if that trip takes, let's say, 20 minutes, And that so means the truck is 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, it's 40 minutes right there. And if you need to do multiple an hour, you got to have multiple trucks. So if your unloading time is cut to 3 minutes, or in a short box, a box truck situation like this, it would be even faster. It could be a minute and a half, and that truck would be loaded. So now you're taking one, two, three trucks out of the financial equation. So again, it's all volume based, and we'd have to actually run the numbers. But I could conceive if there's enough trucks that could be removed and moved to a different profit making area, and you could do it with less trucks and drivers. Yeah, there would be an ROI there potentially.
Yeah, that's one specific company which is probably on the sort of small to medium size in that sector. I'm not really sure, but they certainly served one of the smaller airports in London. The bigger airports, I imagine, the bigger companies like that would probably benefit from having your system. What surprises me is that you're saying that you're the only company that does this kind of system, and certainly on some of the things. I'm actually
No.
Quite surprised about that.
Well, there are some other companies that make a shuttle type system with a chain drive and some modifications. We are not alone in that. But when I was saying we're the only one that does it is the skate loader, which is very unique technology that aligns itself with an unmodified trailer and can load and unload an unmodified trailer.
Right.
So that's the distinction there. As far as other players, yeah, there's other people that market worldwide, and some that market on a regional level, but very few. I know I stress very few have the amount of experience that we have in the volume and the reliability factors that we've developed with the 30 years of experience doing this.
Yeah, so I was describing, my job where it was mostly manual, apart from that hydraulic sort of automated raised platform platform that used to go up and down. Now, what's the normal sort of not normal, but what do warehouses do when they don't have a system like yours? What's the typical sort of activity, if you like? I can imagine a forklift truck, or imagine
Yep.
people like me moving stuff.
Yeah.
But what are the typical things that you see in a situation like that?
Sure. Well, a typical warehouse or loading dock situation, there's a raised dock, has a metal dock leveler, which has a plate that flips out that matches the truck so that you have a ramp in to drive in and out of the truck. It could be an electric fork truck. It could be a gas fork truck. Some people still use what's called a pallet jack. They wheel it in, crank it, and pull them out by hand, just strictly manual labor. So that it's basically a series. If to visualize it, it's a series of garage doors with trailers backed into it that you either walk and pull things out or drive in and out of. And obviously, when you're unloading it automatically with let's say a chain conveyor system like ours, you can get so much speed out of it because you're not driving one load or even sometimes two in and out at a time. Go in, go out, go in, go out, go in, go out. You don't have to, because they can't go in really fast. They can't go out really fast. They've got to be careful. They can't hit the side of the wall. They'll damage the product and damage the truck. With ours, it stays in the same position, slides out smoothly. And then if they're using a fork truck to unload our system, we index it to the back of the system. Generally, it comes off the back. We can do it from the side if there's space limitations. But they can pick up one or two pallets at once. The system indexes itself back to the fork truck. So it's so much smoother and easier than trying to maneuver and drive between, two walls on a roof, on a, I don't even know, 3,000, 2-ton fork truck in and out of a trailer. I hope I answered your question on that.
Oh yeah, no, you're I understand what you're talking about, which is a good thing because a lot of these terminologies I sometimes struggle with. But yeah, I'm glad I had that brief experience in that warehouse now, because I was thinking that about that and an interview I recently or a little while ago did, where they were talking about uh, if you like, the science of maximizing the use or optimizing the use of the space inside those walls and roof that you're talking about, inside the back of the truck. Now, if you've got a big load of uniform sort of size boxes that just fits into the truck nicely and neatly, that's obviously maximizing the space. It's very good. But
Mm-hmm.
when you've got something like different size parcels, different size boxes, the trolleys that I was talking about, they only really took half the height of the truck, and
Ah,
you would imagine that they would be. I don't think they ever really needed to fill it more than they needed to. But I can imagine, say, if their business grows, dividing up that vertical space inside the truck with another platform, so you could use the top half of it as well, put more trolleys on that. That would make sense for them. But obviously, it can be quite complicated when you're talking about various size parcels and boxes, loading them. How do you do that with the postal company that
mhm.
you were talking about? I mean, your system seems designed more for uniform, large uh, things that can fill up the truck in sort of very quickly in one go.
Yeah. Well, yes, our main systems are for, palletized or unitized loads. They don't have to be pretty boxes. We like to say if it fits on the truck, if it fits on our system, it'll fit in the truck and it'll roll it right in. But no, I get your point as far as different loading patterns, and I will answer your postal question last. But there are people that actually use loading patterns. If you're not familiar with truck regulations, there's regulations. Every country, every state have different weight restrictions on how much you can put into a trailer because you don't want to break the roads down, right? If you have too much weight, you're going to destroy your roads faster. Is one of the reasons. But some people their loads are so heavy that they need to maybe put two in the front and then a single pallet in the middle and then two more and then another single pallet and then double it up over the wheels so the load is balanced, they're not overweight, and they've maximized the use of the trailer because you don't want to just fill half a trailer. You want to do it in a pattern. Sometimes they call it a pinwheel, so that but our systems will allow that. But as far as the postal system, it's primarily an unloading system. I mean, they load the system with a running belt, and uh, they just kind of go in haphazardly. They're not stacked neatly in the back of the trailer. It's really about moving as much as you can, as quickly as you can, versus maximizing a load where you're going to go, for hundreds or thousands of miles that way. So it's just a little bit different situation. That's kind of a special application, but it just kind of shows what we're capable of engineering wise.
Yeah, it makes me think that you could. Uh, I hope I'm not being sort of not presumptuous. I don't know what the word is, but I can see. Imagine, they've developed these robotic arms that
Mm-hmm.
are perched on top of these little wheeled platforms. You can imagine one of those being inside the truck, and as your conveyor or system is conveying the parcels in towards the truck, you could see that robotic arm sort of picking out boxes or items and putting them into like pigeonhole type compartments in the truck if they modified the truck accordingly. I mean, I can see innovation, the potential for innovation. Actually, what are the innovations that you see in the future? I mean, this is obviously an innovative system which I can only see growing. I can't see the manual system that I was involved in being uh, certainly cost effective in a larger operation. It kind of doesn't make sense. So there will be a move towards your system. So that in itself is innovation for those, would be innovation for those companies. But what kind of innovations do you see in your market going forward?
There's a number of new things that are coming out. I think the press for innovation in the you know the, the truck loading unloading world, there's a lot of focus on parcels because of the Amazons and so forth of the world having to move longer distances and bigger loads, and they have to be neatly stacked, and it's really being done by hand mostly now. I was at a recent large trade show, and there are some people there that are showing off new devices that are that can load a trailer with hand sized packages. Unfortunately, none of them yet are super efficient and not quite up to what a human can do. I think that's coming. I think AI and a lot of things outside of the things that we do with full truckload loading. I can see a lot of changes coming to parcels where there's going to be more robotics. Uh, Unfortunately, just a lot of the robotics, if it's not a repetitive motion, it's just not as efficient as what a human can do. And you've got 7 different size boxes as an example, or 7 different size boxes and 27 different size padded envelopes. That's a lot um, for robotics to handle at this point. I'm not an expert in that area. I'm kind of just talking off of what I've seen in life and experiences and what I've seen in this industry. But I can see our side of the industry, the full truckloads, moving into areas that we haven't even touched yet. Things like I had another life where I was involved with working with commercial laundries. And it's interesting because commercial laundries nowadays are becoming decentralized, meaning they don't have 10 small buildings around, let's say, London. Right? They're going to be in the outskirts and they're going to truck everything in and then truck it back and unload it to smaller trucks that can fit on the city streets better. A chain system is perfect. The big commercial laundry carriers, they're 6 feet tall and on wheels. We could put a chain system under that would lift it by the frame and load it onto the truck in 3 minutes instead of doing what you were doing at the airport you mentioned. Very similar. It's what made me think of it. That, they're hand pushing these large laundry carts. So, think about the big blue, the plastic ones you see at the hotels, not the little short canvas ones, the tall plastics, like many times you'll see them by the pool, things like that. Those could be loaded onto a truck. We could load hundreds of them in one motion. So I can see the technology that we have continually to advance. We're working on some things now in Europe where we're able to, with some modification to the trailer, we can load the tandem trailers. I don't know if you've seen those on the road, where they have 2 trailers hooked together like a small train.
Mm.
We're working on a program right now to be able to load both, to load those kind of things. We have a program. We have one actually designed. It's going to be shown next spring, I believe it is. We're going to announce it. It's a contract we did with part of the European Union to load rail cars automatically.
Oh.
So there's a lot of areas that we're going to be advancing technologically, and I think a lot of it has to do with the computers. I mean, we could not do something like a skate loader where we're analyzing a trailer in less than a minute and then moving 60, 70,000 pounds, 36, 38 metric tons, and moving an entire load and aligning it perfectly with a shipping container or a truck. That's all advancements in computers that allow, and sensors allow us to do that. So I'm sure there's people listening here that are much smarter than I am, and they probably have 20 ideas that are better than mine, but that's what I see coming right
Well,
now.
I'm definitely no expert in anything, especially in this area. I'm learning as I go along, and from what I have learned over the last couple of years is that, well, about your comment about the robots seem very accurate. They are at a point where they're still fairly basic in terms of their perception and vision, and yeah, they probably wouldn't be able to do the kind of job that I was talking about, the idea of sorting the parcels as they come into the truck, being able to put them in, similar, group them in similar sizes and shapes, and
Mhm.
maximize the use of the inside of the truck. I don't think a robot system can yet do that, but it is progressing. The physically, those things, the wheeled platform and the robotic arm, it physically looks like it should be able to do it, but the computing system, if you like, the sensors and the vision and the programming is probably still developing to the point where it's probably halfway there. I don't know, part way there, but I do think it's coming. It's sort of a couple of years away, maybe, but they're definitely developing it. So I think your view is accurate. Um, Okay, so just as a final question, I think you kind of touched on this. You mentioned that your company is growing in the US, or rather North America and India, very fast. Can you elaborate on that? What kind of things are driving it? Is it e-commerce or is it something else? And what do you see as the effects on your business, on your company of that growth? What do you think is going to change about your company?
Yeah, I'll speak directly to North America since that's really my responsibility.
Mm.
What I found here is that surprisingly, the North American market, Canada, US, Mexico, were not that aware of automatic truck loading systems like Europe was. In Europe, when you talk about within a manufacturing or warehouse companies, they are at least aware and probably know somebody that's using automatic truck loading systems. I've done a number of trade shows now here in North America, and people walk by our booth or stand, and they don't even know what they're looking at until we explain it to them. Then their eyes kind of grow. But we're growing relatively quickly. We've been marketing here for just over 2 years. We've added several new customers in the United States and Mexico, soon to have some systems in Canada. I think in this just example, this August, we're going to have installation crews in. We'll have one in Mexico, and we'll have 3 crews in the U.S. just in the month of August itself. You have to remember this is a 6-month build. So if you gave me the order today, my crew would be in installing it in 6 months. So we're growing quickly here, and people are seeing that it's difficult to hire CDL drivers. That's what they're called here in the States, certified truck drivers. There are not as many as there used to be, and the average age is growing. The majority, I'm told, and from what I've read, of truck drivers now are baby boomers, so they're going to be retiring. And then you look at the efficiencies and cost and the environmental effects of having a lot of trucks on the road. If I can cut it by 50%, we're saving the environment, we're saving things in the environment. But really, to those of us in business, the most important thing is we're cutting costs and we're being more efficient. And that's what ATLS does for you. In the right situations, with the right volume, we can prevent adding on to a building because we can do more work out of one door. We can reduce your truck fleet, and you can use those drivers that are already on your payroll on different routes or doing different things. So you can get them back out on the road and not have to go out looking for people to hire. There's so many reasons behind it. The skate loader, the first one was built in 2016. So it's a new innovation that people are learning about, even that knew about ATLS. And loading an unmodified trailer, unmodified container, you want to get your stuff out fast. If you're in a warehouse situation with, let's say, health and beauty, or you're loading the big box stores, or you're in the produce business and you need to ship from your location in California down to farther in South America or across the Pacific. You want to get that produce from your processing plant. You want to get that into the container and out the door as quickly as possible so it gets to your customer as fresh as possible. Here's another way to do it, because this machine will work 24/7 and continually load those containers so they can be wheeled to the port and sent on their way. But I thank you so much for the time, and I appreciate let me hopefully give out some information to people about what ATLS, automatic truck loading systems, are.
No, Jack, thank you very much for your time and for your thorough explanation into what I think is a very interesting technology. As I said to you before, I'm quite surprised that it's not more commonly used by the big, especially by the big companies with higher volume.
Send us an email at sales@roboticsandautomationnews.com to register for one of our many upcoming webinars. And if you'd like us to host your webinar, we have a range of options, including long-term lead generation packages and marketing campaigns. We look forward to hearing from you soon.